In an epic tale of adventure and magic where heroes courageously defeat, well, maybe it's not looking like that right now. Aina, the silver-haired elf, scrambles away from the overwhelming crisis they're facing right now. Fearing their lives, she calls out for their sage, Yuki, who's somehow just standing there unafraid. The jolly Aurelia thinks Aina is only exaggerating. She's not worried about their situation right now. It would have been more challenging to their party if they faced 100 times more monsters. This? Easy peasy, not a problem at all. A sudden light emanates throughout their surroundings, making the two girls stop their tracks in awe. With a sword in hand, Yuki uses his magic and casts a flare spell against the monsters. Boy, are these girls impressed. That includes their tiny little dragon pet. Inspecting the aftermath, Aina is impressed a human boy could hold so much power and do so much damage. Aurelia's eyes begin to sparkle with amazement as she praises Yuki for his magical prowess. They both initially thought Yuki was a swordsman. Smiling at the girls, Yuki tells them once more he's a sage, someone who can use the highest level of swordsmanship and magic at the same time. Upon hearing this, both Aurelia and Aina wrap their arms around Yuki, each clinging onto Yuki's side. Ah, what a life Yuki has. This moment, though, serves as a tale for the future. Let's go back to where and when it all started. Yuki didn't start off living a spectacular life. In the human world, Yuki used a regular employee who worked for smug superiors. He remembers the day he was fired for no absolute reason. His termination was all too sudden that he didn't believe what he heard, or maybe he was having a nightmare. Unfortunately, it's all reality. Even though he was very competent with his job, the management still placed all the blame for the company's poor performance solely on Yuki. Internally dumbfounded and angry, Yuki stood there speechless and frozen. Luckily enough, Yuki managed to save his earnings. Add that up to his unemployment benefits and Yuki's basically going to live the neat life worry-free. And he took it as his new job to play online games day in and day out. The boy focused so much on it that he can now see through the game's patterns, making it easier for Yuki to level up his character effortlessly. Playing these games made Yuki forget about his present problems and his questionable future. In this game called MMORPG, players need to interact and cooperate with other players in order to level up. Because Yuki is socially inept, he played solo and chose the Trickster class, which had to specialized abilities and was even considered a trash tier class due to its lack of versatility. So it was expected that serious players disliked this class and wouldn't choose this at all. After continuously progressing and upgrading throughout the game, Yuki finally maxed out the Trickster's levels. A game panel then informs Yuki of a chance to change his class to Sage. Initially confused, Yuki wondered if there was even a Sage class to begin with. Shrugging it off, he clicked yes to the change. Shifting classes might have been the best decision Yuki's ever made. It wasn't some kind of bug or balancing mistake. It turned out to be an all-access pass to unlimited skill and magic. The Sage class turned out to have every single parameter on a max level. With this overpowered ability, Yuki can now attack his enemies without a hitch, even enemies that are hard to defeat alone. Because of all the fun Yuki's having, he eventually stopped questioning and overthinking everything else. He became more brazen with his gaming and started taking down raid bosses. One time, Yuki faced a beast that's supposed to be fought by 1,000 players. Yet here he was facing it alone. In his mind, it's all a game. He's also pretty sure the game makers never expected someone to hit max level with a trickster. What a blessing in disguise. Yuki's character pierced the beast with his sword, already expecting it to have a whole different level of difficulty when it comes to durability and recovery. This does not waver Yuki's determination though. He knows he has enough attack power to actually defeat this beast. One last pierce through this monster and voila! Yuki has been successfully reincarnated into another world. After the game glitches, Yuki wakes up in a room where priestly-looking men calls him a hero, eventually saying their summoning was a success. Yuki is immediately greeted by a room full of other heroes. A puzzled Yuki starts asking the men as to what is happening and his whereabouts. I mean, who wouldn't be confused when minutes ago he was just playing a game and now he's actually in one? The sword hero, Fabrice, apologizes for overwhelming Yuki and reassure him that they have pure intentions. According to Fabrice, they are currently in Oswald Royal Castle. Yuki is still baffled by his current situation. Him? A hero? Him? Surrounded by other heroes? Reassuring Yuki, they all quip how it's only natural to be uneasy and this is indeed Yuki's new reality. The shield hero, Katashi, even says that it will take some time before Yuki can accept this new world. The bubbly healing hero, Shiri, swiftly introduces herself to Yuki, clinging onto his arm as if they're longtime friends. She's pretty much interested at Yuki's young age, assuming he must be overflowing with talent. Young age equals great skill, whatever skill she might be pertaining to. Shiri then pushes herself closer towards Yuki. Enveloping him with her warmth, Shiri tells the boy he is one of the chose heroes of Oswald Kingdom, and if there's anything Yuki doesn't understand at all, she would be very much obliged to answer him. Sheesh. On more serious matters, Yuki shifts back his attention to Fabrice and asks him as to how they knew Yuki is truly a hero or not. Lifting his hand, Fabrice shows Yuki how they can easily view their stats by focusing their minds on wanting to see it. Fabrice's stat list then pops up showing his name, level, class, and of course a detailed skill set with hidden stat numbers. When Yuki asks about the hidden numbers, Fabrice immediately explains that important information like that is hidden to other people even if they're fellow comrades. Understanding all of this, Yuki lifts his hand and attempts to bring out his class and stats. The room goes quiet and looks of bewilderment paint Fabrice and the others' faces. Whispers fill the room as they stare at Yuki's class, which says Sage, the same class he procured in the game before reincarnating in Oswald. With the heroes being used to only getting hero classes, they're all wondering if Yuki's Sage class is okay. Furthermore, the stat values are completely beyond the roof compared to Yuki's level, which further complicates this whole ordeal. Oblivious to everyone's detached looks, Yuki is in a world of his own. He wonders if he's as strong in Oswald as he was in the game. Could he actually use all of his skills, especially the Sage class, freely here? Disdain expressions darken the other heroes' faces, calling Yuki a fake. All the priests turn to each other and discuss the potential mistakes they made during the ritual. It shouldn't be possible since the process hasn't changed. But why would the ritual summon Yuki when his class doesn't classify as hero? Did one of them mispronounce the incantation? While the priests argue, the king who's been sitting on his throne since Yuki arrived finally speaks. Since Yuki isn't a hero, the king proclaims to banish Yuki at once. They only need heroes, so there's no use for Yuki. At least that's what they all think. An astonished Yuki argues with the king. They summon him here without his consent just so they could kick him out. All the heroes' welcoming aura has dissipated and is replaced with disgust and disappointment. Since they've never heard of a sage before, Yuki is now labeled as next to nothing. Yuki tries to explain to them that he's actually a hero like them. Shiri repulsively tells Yuki not to level himself the same as them because his stat doesn't say he's a hero. In short, not a hero equals useless. Useless equals to not needed. Wow, what a major deja vu moment for Yuki. This feeling of being unwanted is just the same when he was in the human world. His work was always unappreciated. Oh, do we have to mention the scum superiors he had? They doubted Yuki's capabilities and always belittled his skills, and eventually they fired him for being stubborn and useless. This trauma is giving Yuki a major headache, especially that the heroes are saying the same exact thing. Useless. Kick him out. He doesn't belong here. The king then orders his guards to take Yuki outside the castle, since he's not allowed to stay in the sacred royal chamber anymore. Like trash, Yuki is dumped outside the castle. Calling him a fake hero, the guards demand Yuki to just hurry up and go home. Now Yuki is writhing in anger. Even if those people would beg him to come back, he vows to never return. With nothing else to do but explore the town, Yuki ponders upon what just happened in the throne room. Not the getting kicked out part, okay? He thinks about what they told him, about the summoning of heroes. His mind hasn't quite grasped the idea of being reincarnated yet. On top of that, he managed to get reincarnated as a sage. Finding a nearby fountain, Yuki defeatedly sits down. He can't help but feel pathetic for having the same fate in Oswald as he did in the human world. He really thought there was hope in changing his destiny here. Should he just live a quiet and peaceful life here? Or should Yuki look for a way to return to the human world? After giving it some thought, Yuki fervently decides to stay in Oswald instead. He doesn't want to return to the human world, a world where there's nothing but exploitative companies that got him depressed. Standing up, the sage contemplates on what his next course of action will be. He has to do something, right? But what could that be when he was basically thrown out before a demo could even happen? Yuki aimlessly walks around, hoping for some kind of miracle to happen. If this were a game, situations like his would normally forge some kind of fateful encounter to change his destiny. As Yuki steps foot in a secluded alley, he mutters how saving a princess from a kidnapping would be so much helpful right now. Your wish is my command, dear sir. 3 bandits are actually keeping a damsel quiet right now. Impeccable timing as Yuki hears them talk about loading up the muffled-up girl into the carriage before anyone sees them. Yuki hides himself, deciding whether to help the girl or pretend he didn't see anything. Hello? Yuki? This is the fateful encounter you wanted, right? Even if he helps, Yuki has no means to fight these bandits properly and be involved in even more trouble. Before he could even decide anything, Yuki steps on some pieces of wood, making noise in the process. The bandits suspiciously look at the direction of the noise and ultimately catch Yuki watching them. Remembering the status screen back at the royal castle, Yuki wonders if any of his skills would be useful right now. While the bandits are distracted, Yuki lifts up his hands in the air and activates his skill, Divine Blessing. A glowing sigil forms underneath Yuki, and before you know it, the bandits were no more, leaving an awestruck Yuki alone and on the ground. He didn't really expect it to be that powerful, but at least the coast is clear. No pun intended. Yuki then remembers the girl in the carriage and immediately checks on her. Yep, she's still there, tied up and muffled. The question remains, who is this mysterious girl and what role does she play in Yuki's adventure? Yuki sighs in relief upon seeing that the girl, although still tied up, is safe and sound. The poor girl starts getting restless, thinking she's still in danger. Yuki reassures her at once, telling her everything's okay now. While untying her, Yuki informs the girl that the bandits earlier have already been taken care of. Teary-eyed, the girl thanks Yuki for saving her. The girl then asks Yuki for his name, but the boy seems to be preoccupied, openly staring at the damsel he just saved. Judging by her appearance, the girl looks like a rich young lady, and if Yuki looks at her a bit closer, it seems that our sage is captivated by the maiden's beauty, making him blush when the girl notices his prolonged gaze. Finally introducing himself, Yuki once again reassures the girl that he's one of the good guys. He then expresses how he's glad nothing too bad happened to the girl. A tender smile warms the girl's face. It's all because Yuki was at the right place in the right time. Still, Yuki doesn't know anything about the girl and begins asking her about it. Trusting her savior, the girl introduces herself as Aurelia Villars, the third princess of the Villars Empire. Once again, Aurelia thanks Yuki for saving her earlier. As for Yuki, he's quite shocked at Aurelia's revelation. He just saved a princess from the neighboring kingdom. Oh, what a fateful encounter indeed. But how did a princess like Aurelia end up getting captured by bandits? And why is she traveling alone without any of her attendants? These are questions the curious Yuki asks the princess. Well, it's somehow a really cliché story. Aurelia gives Yuki a short laugh before telling him the reason. As a princess, Aurelia was living the perfect and peaceful life. However, she got bored with the same routine every day. It was too peaceful, too quiet. She craved fun and adventure. And so one day she wrote a letter and left it at the castle saying she was off to greener pastures and broader horizons. When Aurelia arrived in town, that's when the bandits set their eyes on her. She was walking down a dark alley when they captured Aurelia and planned on selling her to the nobles. Crossing his arms, Yuki gives the princess a disapproving look, even calling Aurelia a mischievous princess for escaping the castle just to travel around different kingdoms. Now embarrassed, Aurelia tries changing the subject and asks about Yuki's incredible tales of heroism. He did manage to defeat those bandits effortlessly, so there should be many of it, right? Yuki racks his brain of everything that has transpired in his life so far. He doesn't hesitate spilling every single detail to Aurelia. Despite being clueless about the human world that Yuki mentioned, Aurelia was kind enough to listen to Yuki's ramblings with a curious expression. After he was done sharing his story, Yuki suggests for Aurelia to return to Villars' empire, especially after the kidnapping incident. Aurelia adamantly refuses to do so. In fact, she's not worried at all if she ends up in the same situation again. Why would she worry when Yuki will be there to help her again? Yuki doesn't give Aurelia a direct answer. Instead, he lets her understand that he's already got a lot on his plate right now. And even if he agrees, Yuki's so sure that the Empire would have him killed if they found him with the princess. Normally, that would be the case. Yuki would definitely get the boot out. But Aurelia already has a secret plan. Approaching Yuki, the princess clasps Yuki's hand, happily suggesting they only need to play pretend. A frazzled Yuki moves away from Aurelia's touch, frantically denying Aurelia's plans. Face as red as a tomato, Yuki is in disbelief that such plan would come from someone like Aurelia. I mean, she is a princess. Aurelia tries persuading Yuki about her plan. She absolutely knows what she's talking about. She's read about it in her books before. That's one way to reassure him about your perfect plan, girl. Yuki immediately tells her it's a bad idea. Things like these only happen in games in order to silence fathers, kings, who want their daughters married. Putting her hands on her chest, Aurelia sincerely expresses her desire on offering her hand in marriage to Yuki. She doesn't mind at all, calling their meeting fate's guidance. A blushing Yuki scratches his head, telling Aurelia it was just pure happenstance that he was passing by. He refuses to take on Aurelia's offer. This princess is indeed a princess. She's way out of touch with reality. Pretty brazen for her to offer such things too. Offers like these might be common in games, but right now, this is Yuki's reality, and Aurelia's offer is way too convenient. Not only that, Yuki discloses their huge age gap. A lady like Aurelia shouldn't be casually talking about such things to a grown man. This has Aurelia giggling. Yuki must be joking. No matter how Aurelia looks at Yuki, he only seems to be around 15 years old. Instantly looking at his hands, it's only now that Yuki realizes he has much younger skin. This must be due to the reincarnation process. It all makes sense now. The people at the castle was already treating him like a kid and even calling him one. Even so, Yuki shakes his head. It still won't sit well with him knowing he'd just Aurelia and she's already offering marriage. I guess Yuki's one of those who'd like to wait and really get to know someone before calling him the one. Disappointment bears Aurelia's face. Here she thought she had found a reliable companion. Come to think of it, Yuki believes Aurelia would also suit him well as a companion too. It's just, things are a bit complicated right now and he doesn't want to add more fuel to the already burning flames. But at the same time, Yuki knows he can't just leave Aurelia all by herself, so he suggests another plan. Yuki tells Aurelia how he usually travels alone, but if she were to follow him on her own accord, then he can't do anything about it anymore. Hearing this makes Aurelia brimming with happiness, hugging Yuki oh so tightly. Their moment gets interrupted when Yuki's stomach starts growling. A sheepish smile forms on Yuki's face before explaining he hasn't eaten anything since coming in this world. Aurelia gently laughs, holding onto her stomach as she also feels hungry now too. She then suggests they talk about their next step over a nice meal, and as a token of her gratitude, she'll treat Yuki to a free meal. Yuki awkwardly takes her up on the offer. Yuki, I don't even think you have any New World money to begin with. Meanwhile, back at Oswald Castle, a guard approaches the king, informing him that Aurelia has been taken away by someone else. This stresses the king badly. Didn't he hire skilled bandits? The guards further details out that the bandits were wiped off almost immediately, and the culprit is the boy they just banished, Yuki. In disbelief, the king warns the guard not to say such ridiculous things. There's no way such thing would happen. The guard bows his head even lower, apologizing to the king and promising to resume their efforts on the search for the princess. After the guard leaves, the king mulls over this new problem. Yes, he's the one who ordered those bandits to kidnap Aurelia in hopes of using her as collateral in negotiations with the Villars Empire. Now this poses a problem to Oswald Empire. If Aurelia were to return to Villars Empire and her father learns about the kidnapping, the king is sure that the emperor will launch a thorough investigation. This is an act of aggression and Oswald would be doomed when this comes to light. Not only that, if the surrounding kingdoms were to form an alliance with Villars, Oswald would stand no chance even if they had a lot of heroes. This king turns out to be an enemy. Let's just go back to Yuki and Aurelia for now. The princess is joyfully munching on her delicious meal. Even if it's just commoner's food, she still thinks it's quite good. On the other hand, Yuki doesn't know if this is cheap food or not, but at least this should fill him up. While chewing on a chicken leg, Yuki plans on getting a job. He can't just be a freeloader forever. Aurelia suggests on becoming an adventurer whose job is to take on requests and getting paid upon its completion. Yuki hesitates a bit, telling Aurelia he's not really a skilled fighter. However, Aurelia doesn't believe him since he did manage to defeat the bandits earlier. She urges Yuki to take the adventurer's test in order for him to get his license. A test would definitely be a nice way to gauge Yuki's abilities too. Taking out her ID card, Aurelia shows it to Yuki, explaining it was even easy for her to get one. And no doubt in Aurelia's mind that Yuki will pass it with flying colors asleep. Yuki notices the fake name that Aurelia is using on her ID card. She can't use her real name or else she'll get exposed. Yuki's not impressed on how thorough Aurelia is with things like this. Suddenly, they hear a loud sound coming from outside. A man then informs the diners that the weapon shop across the street is on fire. They all go outside and watch the flames engulf the building. The citizens start talking about how to put out the fire quickly. It's not just the building that's gonna burn down if they don't contain the fire. Yuki and Aurelia then hear an old man crying out for his grandchild. Apparently, his grandchild is still inside the burning building. The citizens dissuade the old man from saving the child since the fire is already too big and no one can get close to it. The old man drops to his knees crying, asking for someone to save his grandchild. Aurelia swiftly turns to Yuki and asks him to save the child. Yuki understands Aurelia's concerns, but they can't go rushing in a big fire without a concrete plan. Yuki tries remembering his skill set, hoping there could be something he could use to put out the fire. Could climate manipulation help him right now? Could this skill really change the weather? There's only one way to find out. Reaching a decision, Yuki walks inside to try and rescue the child. At once, Yuki is met with hot, flaming fire. He covers himself and carefully makes his way through the fire as he calls out for the missing child. The child screams out and Yuki walks towards the child's direction. Holding onto his cat, the child tells Yuki he was supposed to be outside with his grandpa, but his cat, Tama, was missing. So the child went back inside to get Tama, but couldn't find his way out because of the flames. Initially, Yuki prepares to use climate manipulation to make it rain. But seeing that the fire has already spread, Yuki decides to cool down the burning wood instead. This would be a much faster and more efficient plan. Without a second thought, Yuki activates climate manipulate and the temperature around them instantly drops to absolute zero. Outside, the citizens see that the fire has suddenly died down. They all assume that Yuki had something to do with it. Questions begin to unfold as to how Yuki was able to do so. After a while, Yuki and the kid finally make their way outside. Aurelia rushes towards them and is happy to see that both are safe. She expects nothing less from Yuki. The sage, Grandpa and the child finally reunite, tearfully embracing each other. What a lovely scene to behold, all thanks to our mighty adventurers. Everyone witnessed the grandfather and grandchild's reunion, all made possible because of Yuki's heroism. If he was a minute too late, things would have ended on a sour note. After a while, the grandfather finally turns to Yuki and introduces himself as the owner of the shop. He apologizes for looking a bit dramatic earlier and thanks Yuki for saving his grandson Hans. When Yuki asks Grandpa about the fire, the old man could only guess it was some gunpowder material that caught fire. But he has no idea how it really started. I smell something fishy around here. Anyways, Grandpa really want to thank Yuki for all that he's done. Politely declining, Yuki scratches the back of his head as he explains that Grandpa already has his hands full with his shop's current condition. Still, Grandpa insists he must show Yuki his gratitude. If Yuki is fine with anything from Grandpa's shop, then he has Grandpa's approval to take whatever he likes. Although shocked by the generous offer, Yuki takes Grandpa on his offer. Yuki and Aurelia then go inside Grandpa's shop, happy to see that most of the merchandise didn't get destroyed by the fire. There's still so many weapons that Yuki will surely have a hard time picking one. Yuki initially picks out a double-headed axe. Staring at it makes Yuki wonder if sages even wield exclusive weapons. Could a sage equip any weapon at all? He then turns to a sharp sword. Inspecting it, Yuki still doubts a sage like him could properly use them. While checking out a mace weapon, Aurelia approaches Yuki to ask if he already found a good weapon to get. Yuki can't really answer that. He's surprisingly having a hard time choosing one that's best fit for him. While Yuki tests out yet another weapon, this time a flail, Aurelia thinks Yuki should just trust his gut. Yuki doesn't mind any weapon as long as it's easy for him to handle. So it's definitely not this flail, Yuki. Grandpa then approaches the two adventurers, telling them that while the weapons are all mass-produced, they're certainly of top-notch quality. This time Yuki tries handling a pickaxe. He still can't decide and ultimately asks Grandpa for recommendations. Grandpa thinks over it for a bit and suddenly, bam, he knows exactly what to give to Yuki. He rushes towards a wooden chest looking for the weapon in mind. Alas, Grandpa finds it and presents a one-of-a-kind piece to Yuki. Yuki takes a hold of the sword in awe of its splendid form. This sword is known to be the Demon Sword Berserk. It's said to have been wielded by a ruthless demon king many years ago. Upon hearing this, Yuki asks Grandpa if the sword is valuable. A smiling Grandpa further tells Yuki that the sword could have been of value, but since it has lost its magic power, it's more of an antique piece now. Bringing it up close for inspection, Yuki can't help but smile. The sword's design and backstory has really caught his true heart. If only there's a way to restore its power. Out of nowhere, the sword starts glowing, astonishing both Yuki and Aurelia. It seems that Yuki has unconsciously activated his skill, Auto Repair. Yuki has managed to successfully restore 0.2% of the sword's power. Grandpa isn't surprised by this outcome, even saying that it's as if the sword has chosen Yuki to be its master. This just settles it even more. This sword, which is glowing with frenzied light, is officially Yuki's. After gratefully accepting his new sword, Yuki and Aurelia bid Grandpa and Hans goodbye. Walking into town again, the duo decide on looking for an inn. With all that's happened today, they could really use some R&R, hopefully in a nice room too. After a while, the two finally find a room. Aurelia is very much pleased with how spacious it is. Because of that, they won't have trouble staying together in this room. Not only that, this is Aurelia's first overnight outside castle walls, so she's pretty excited. Normally, Yuki wanted to have separate rooms, but Aurelia was able to persuade him in order to save lodging fees. Kinda suspicious for the princess to be worried about money. Anyways, the room actually has one bed, a sofa, so they won't have trouble sharing it at all. When Yuki offers the bed to Aurelia, she promptly says no because she wants to experience sleeping on the sofa. She gladly sits on the sofa whilst telling Yuki that she can have this experience inside the castle. Yuki won't recommend the sofa for its comfiness, but if it's the princess's wish, then so shall it be. The next morning, Yuki's deep slumber gets interrupted by something squishy. This texture feels soft and smooth. This is no pillow at all. He gradually turns to where this bouncy feeling is coming from. And poof, Yuki wakes up by getting squelched between Aurelia's pillows. Looking at it on a wider perspective, Yuki is actually stuck in a very compromising position, with Aurelia hugging Yuki towards her. Yuki tries to detach from Aurelia's hold, but the princess still wants to cuddle. He finally gets Aurelia to wake up, the latter casually greeting him good morning. But oh no, sir, there's no such thing as a casual morning greeting with what just happened. Yuki is frazzled and starts asking as to why Aurelia is in his bed. The princess smiles while apologizes for her invasion. She couldn't get comfy on the sofa and ended up sneaking into Yuki's arms. Bed. Yuki then scolds Aurelia for her actions. It's improper to sneak into Guy's bed when they've only just met, so she can do it after a month then, Yuki? Kidding aside, Aurelia is puzzled as to why Yuki seems flustered about it. She doesn't see anything wrong about sharing a bed. Oh, the joys of innocence. Crossing his arms, Yuki starts explaining to Aurelia that young girls like her shouldn't be sleeping in the same bed with a guy. However, Aurelia doesn't mind at all. If it were a stranger, sure. But if it's Yuki, there's nothing she should be worried about. A blushing Yuki still thinks Aurelia is being careless. Even if it's him, she should still be cautious. He hashes out on how the world has plenty of people that would take advantage of situations like these. Heeding Yuki's advice, Aurelia agrees to be more careful from now on. With a worried expression, Yuki makes sure Aurelia won't be sneaking into the sofa tomorrow. The princess only giggles, teasing Yuki with a "who knows" reply. To make sure that Aurelia doesn't get tricked by some shady guy in the future, Yuki devises a life-learning moment for her. Yuki slowly draws himself closer to Aurelia, telling her that he's going to make his move since she clearly wants it. The innocent princess begins to fluster, asking Yuki as to how far would his move go beyond. With a creepy look, Yuki informs Aurelia he might just go all the way, inching his face closer and closer. In a sudden turn of events, Aurelia's initial fluster dissipates and is replaced by one of longing and acceptance. She poses herself innocently before telling Yuki that she agrees to his plans if he really means it. Yuki definitely didn't see that one coming at all. He instantly drops his facade and starts explaining he only meant to do this as an example to warn Aurelia about these things. Hearing this, the princess expresses her disappointment. Maybe next time, princess. Well, so much for a life-learning moment. Later on, the two get ready and head outside town. As they walk, people start whispering and staring at them. Correction, people are staring at Yuki. Yuki starts worrying about being the center of attention. He presumes this is about being summoned from another world and getting kicked out of the castle in the end. Come to think of it, Aurelia did hear whispers about a new hero being summoned a while back. That could have been him, Yuki says. Now Aurelia sports the same worried look, fearing that rumors about Yuki being banished from the castle are spreading. To Yuki, it's not just that. It's not a big deal if it's just about getting banished. But if anyone found out he's traveling with Aurelia, things could get messy. Aurelia believes it to be impossible. But it is, especially with yesterday's fire and Yuki saving the day. Rumors about that will soon spread too. Sighing, Yuki utters how he's always had bad luck, being summoned then ridiculed and thrown out without even a proper explanation. Turning to Aurelia, Yuki asks her if she's disappointed with him as well, with a guy whose sage powers are unclear. Was it all just pure luck all along? A smile forms on Aurelia's face. She directly answers Yuki with a no. She's not disappointed at all. She then tells Yuki of what she knows, that the official reason for the hero's summoning is to defeat the Demon King. However, rumors say that its true purpose is military exploitation. Aurelia doesn't want Yuki to be used as a pawn. And on the brighter side, Aurelia was saved from the bandits because of the events that transpired before that. If Yuki had been the hero, then Aurelia would have remained captured and would have caused trouble for her father. Thinking about it, Yuki agrees. If he hadn't met Aurelia as well, he would have been completely lost. See? Things aren't so bad at all, Yuki. Clutching Yuki's hands, Aurelia cheerfully tells him how she likes Yuki's positivity, and that's why she'll follow him anywhere. A blushing Yuki awkwardly thanks the princess for such declaration before finally making their way to the guild. May such positivity radiate throughout this duo's journey, since this is all just the beginning of many more trials and triumphs to come. After a while, the duo finally arrive at the guild and immediately approach the receptionist for the licensure test. The receptionist then asks for Yuki's name, to which the sage fully complies. The receptionist is surprised upon hearing Yuki's name. She's not too subtle about it, so Yuki ultimately asks if there are any problems. Changing the subject, the receptionist tells Yuki that he can only join the guild if he passes the test. The test consists of a magic power assessment, a practical test, and a final test. So Yuki needs to complete 3 tests in total for him to get his license. The receptionist gets a portable magic power gauge for the first assessment. Yuki only needs to place his arm through the device and it'll tighten inside to measure his magic power, kind of like a blood pressure monitor in the human world. The measurement initially goes smoothly, with the power level slowly rising. Then wham! The machine starts making weird sounds before it finally explodes. Luckily, Yuki's arm is still intact. The receptionist repeatedly apologizes by the unexpected events to the now frightened duo. She scratches her head while telling the both of them to proceed to another room so they can redo the examination. It seems like the machine earlier was a new type of magic tool. Inside the room, a floating magic crystal awaits them. Unlike the previous magic tool, this crystal can't give an exact MP, but it works by detecting changes in color to determine the MP level, sort of the difference between digital and analog. But with the latter one, Yuki feels like it's something out of a game. No pun intended. The receptionist then asks Yuki to touch the magic crystal. The crystal starts changing color as Yuki describes the feeling of getting strangely hot. But this has never happened before, explains the receptionist. Suddenly, the crystal begins cracking. The 3 are already expecting the crystal to explode like the machine from earlier. But since the crystal's still changing color, it should probably be fine. It's not fine at all when the crystal does break, shocking everyone in the room. The receptionist explains that the crystal's measurement limit is around 100,000 MP. With it shattering means that the magic power exceeded its limit. Since the passing rate is only at least 20,000 MP and Yuki managed to break the crystal's 100,000 magic power limit, he is obviously above the standards. The receptionist then gives Yuki her honest opinion, saying she never expected him to pass at all. Until 2 days ago, the passing rate was only 10,000 MP. Even Aurelia remembers taking her test with the supposed 10,000 MP passing rate, but it was suddenly changed to 20,000 MP yesterday. A sudden influx like this would be tough even for veteran adventurers. Aurelia knows this, especially that her MP is only around 15,000. Further explaining the sudden notice, the receptionist tells the duo that the direct notice came from the kingdom itself. However, there was an additional clause to the notice. It only applied to one person. And yup, you guessed that right. It only applied to Yuki and is effective immediately upon receipt of notice. This has Aurelia fuming mad. The kingdom was still bullying and coming after Yuki even after everything they did to him. Thanks to this new information, Yuki now has his guard up for the remaining tests. Proceeding with the practical test, the receptionist guides them to the outdoor training area. On the way there, Yuki asks Aurelia as to what kind of opponent she faced during her test. Apparently, Aurelia went against a C-rank adventurer. This means that Yuki's opponent will probably be someone even stronger. The receptionist gives out an awkward smile before agreeing. In normal day-by-day practical tests in the guild, a C-rank adventurer would be the opponent to face. But since the memo from the kingdom, Yuki will be facing against an A-rank adventurer. Speaking of, a bearded man clad in armor walks out of the other door, accusing Yuki of being a fake hero who deceived the king. Wow, is it just me, or are these so-called heroes blinded by their king's facade? This A-rank adventurer is none other than Regulus. He smugly scoffs at Yuki's audacity for still seeking to become an adventurer despite being given pardon from execution. Regulus sarcastically tells Yuki he respects such audacity, to which the latter gives out a sarcastic reply in return by saying thank you. However, Regulus can't actually read sarcasm that well and mistakes this as Yuki being dumb. The crowd cheers for Regulus. They expect their mighty hero to be unforgivable, unlike the king. Dryly laughing, Yuki stares at Regulus as he takes out a humongous sword. The A-ranker even boasts that it'll be impossible for Yuki to fend off his mighty sword. Sure, Regulus. Taking out his demon sword, Yuki activates Divine Blessing. With this, he hopes to be able to read Regulus's movements. But he has to be careful in making decoys against a skilled swordsman like Regulus. Yuki is fully aware someone that skilled will be able to see through him. Yuki has no choice but to take the offensive side, planning on attacking Regulus continuously, in order to find an opening for a decisive strike. As Yuki rushes forward, Regulus can feel the overwhelming power radiating from Yuki. In just a single step, the Age appeared right in front of him in an instant. Was this magic? Regulus then lunges his sword forward, but ultimately misses hitting Yuki. Woo, that was a close call, right, Yuki? I mean, Yuki already expected such damage from an A-rank adventurer. If he deliberately attacked head-on, he would have been a splattered mosquito right now. Thanks to Divine Blessing, Yuki has managed to avoid all of Regulus's attack. But he also knows that won't work for long. He needs just one opening to land a powerful blow on Regulus. Meanwhile, the crowd can't help but feel astounded with the duel between the two adventurers. They now know that Yuki is as good as Regulus, if not even better. Only Aurelia is cheering on for Yuki, not at all surprised that her savior is winning the battle. As the fight ensues, the crowd witnesses Yuki's prowess in the battlefield. It's like he's dancing through all of Regulus's attacks. The smug look from earlier evidently wears off, and Regulus now sports that of a frightened cat. What exactly is he fighting, and where did all this power come from? Alas, the opening Yuki's been looking for. Yuki finally manages to swing his sword at Regulus. The A-ranker tries to protect himself with his sword for it to only break in half. Regulus thought he was battling out a weak opponent, only to be proven otherwise. Now he's laying on the ground with his mighty sword no more. The crowd goes silent. They can't believe their beloved Lord Regulus just lost. Now curious with Yuki's identity, Aurelia runs towards Yuki and gives him a congratulatory embrace. The receptionist is also quite impressed with Yuki's abilities. It's no joke to be able to defeat an A-ranker, especially that Regulus is said to be the strongest amongst the kingdom's adventurers. Since obviously Yuki won, it's no doubt that he passes the test. The receptionist gives him a thumbs up. Now Aurelia calls the blushing Yuki the strongest in the kingdom. It seems that our sage isn't used to getting such compliments. Yuki then asks the receptionist about the final test, to which she informs him that the practical test will have him participate in a battlefield during a campout. But because this test needs multiple examiners, it will take 2 days to prepare for it. Turning towards his defeated foe, Yuki worries about Regulus's current state, and if the unconscious A-ranker will be okay. The receptionist reassures Yuki, telling him that they'll take care of him and that Yuki can now leave his premises. Besides, 2 medics are already examining Regulus, one calling out for a stretcher. A smile forms on Yuki's face. At least he's done for now and can have time to relax. Agreeing, Aurelia gives him a smile, assuring him they'll both take a break before the final test. Meanwhile, inside Oswald's castle, Katashi bows down to the king whilst giving a report about Yuki's recent triumph on the guild's test. Moreover, there are also reports about Yuki's complete victory against Regulus. Not a single scratch on the boy. The report badly upsets the king, calling Yuki a brat. How can a fake hero possess such strength and power? Katashi is honestly surprised as well. Yuki has exceeded beyond his expectations. They clearly made a mistake, but the damage has already been done. Right now they need a plan to clean up their mess. The fuming king can't accept his grave mistake. If people find out that he banished such a talented individual, he'll be a laughingstock amongst his own citizens. Ordering Katashi to come up with a plan, the king tells him to eliminate Yuki without damaging his image. In an instant, Katashi suggests they use the assassination squad. This piques the king's interest, but he worries that it would be impossible to assassinate Yuki, especially with ordinary methods. However, Katashi already has a plan in mind. They will be replacing the examiners for the final test. And during the test, they'll make sure to make it look like an accident. With a grim look, Katashi assures the king that everyone will believe their story since it's not uncommon for deaths to happen during the guild's practical test. No one will ever suspect it's the king's plotting. The king gives it a thought and not long decides to give it a go, even calling it a brilliant idea. He leaves this pressing matter in Katashi's capable hands. His only condition is that no one should suspect a thing or two. This time around, the king will make sure the fake hero will disappear for good. Will their evil plotting succeed as planned? At long last, a moment of rest and relaxation for our favorite duo. And what better way to enjoy their break than to stretch those tight muscles in a nice warm bath? Aurelia seems to have gotten the memo as she enjoys her bath. It may be smaller than the one in the castle, but it still has its own refreshing charm. Another one crossed out of Aurelia's bucket list. It's not only her aching body that's being healed right now, but also her mind. She also thinks Yuki should enjoy a warm bath to refresh himself before the final test. That should relax both his body and mind for sure. Meanwhile, Yuki is outside sitting on the bed with his arms crossed. After his standoff with Regulus, Yuki's opinion about being a sage is beginning to sway. Maybe it's not actually so bad after all. Sure, it's not on par with a hero, but maybe, just maybe, it's strong enough to survive as an adventurer in this world. For now, Yuki shifts his focus on other things. He decides to open his stats to check out all his skills. Upon going through the list, Yuki is puzzled to see barrier magic. He surely didn't have this in the beginning. When was he able to acquire this? Looking at the name, Yuki deduces it's a type of magic where he can create a barrier or shield. He gives it a try, lifting his hand to activate the said skill. Crew. Staring at his surroundings, Yuki can't seem to see any change at all. He's so immersed with his newly acquired skill that he doesn't notice Aurelia coming out from her bath with only a towel covering her. Aurelia casually walks toward Yuki, suggesting that he takes a bath as well. She even volunteers to wash his back for him. Before she could even reach the bed, Aurelia gets knocked off by an invisible force. She's now on the floor, holding her head in pain. This gets Yuki's attention, instantly worrying about Aurelia's sudden outburst. The princess explains what happened, telling Yuki that she somehow ran into an invisible wall. The poor princess seems to be teary-eyed from the fall too. Yuki then stands up and knocks on the invisible wall Aurelia just mentioned. A question comes in mind. Will the barrier be able to prevent attacks and intrusion? Is this how it works? A game-like panel appears in front of Yuki. Apparently he can set a password to deactivate the barrier magic. This way, Yuki's allies will be able to enter and exit the barrier freely. After choosing one, Yuki tells Aurelia to say, Hirake Goma. Although she has trouble saying it at first, Aurelia manages to say it in one go, lifting the barrier in the process. Yuki then goes into detail, conveying to Aurelia that she ran into a barrier that his magic created, and the phrase Hirake Goma is the password to enter. He asks Aralai to remember it for when the time comes. The next day, Yuki and Aurelia meet the receptionist out in the forest. The receptionist doesn't waste any time and explains the mechanics of the final test. Yuki is to camp here for the night. During that period, the officer in charge will attack and Yuki must do his best to protect the campsite. Protecting the camp is his top priority. The officer in charge will also be an adventurer of rank C or higher, so it's usually considered difficult to defeat them. The test will end at exactly 6 in the morning tomorrow. Both Aurelia and the receptionist will come back by then, with the latter to hopefully deliver the good news of Yuki's successful examination. After the girls leave, Yuki starts off with setting up a barrier which is now on level 2. He was able to level it up using the skill points he accumulated. He doesn't really know how strong the barrier is now, but at least it'll buy him some time if enemies were to attack. Yuki then sets camp, sitting down while cooking his meal. He never thought he'd experience solo camping in this world until now. Meanwhile, a group of assailants are already hiding in the bushes nearby. One assassin informs their captain that they've successfully surrounded Yuki. They shall now commence Operation Eliminate Yuki. The captain gives everyone the heads up that their target is none other than the innocent boy sitting and waiting for his meal to cook. It's unfortunate, but there's no room for sympathy right now. According to the captain, rumors have spread like wildfire across the town saying that Yuki committed a serious betrayal against the kingdom. They're here because the orders came directly from King Selber himself. Judging by that fact alone, they already know Yuki won't be an ordinary opponent to face. The assassins initially plan on confusing Yuki from behind since he doesn't seem like having any plans on moving. A frantic assassin then comes up to report an emergency to the captain. Nope. Yuki hasn't suspected anything for now, but the captain needs to see what they're truly up against. The assassin lunges a sharp blade at Yuki. With so much force it should directly hit the sage. However, his blade only bounces off the barrier Yuki set up. They're all taken aback when the captain voices out his suspicions. They might be dealing with barrier magic, but that shouldn't be possible since it's the type of magic that's been lost in history. Crossing his arms, it might be impossible, but right now it's all the captain could think of. If it's really barrier magic, then it won't break with just swords or regular magic. Since this operation is mandated by the king himself, failure is not an option for the assassins. The captain then orders his henchmen to bring out the magical weapon. Although they didn't get permission to use this, they'll just inform the king afterwards. Like I said, failure is not an option. The assassin begin to worry, thinking this might be too much. Who wouldn't call this excessive when they literally have a cannonball launcher for a weapon? The captain reassures his team that they'll only use it until the barrier breaks. After the necessary preparations are done, the captain tells them to brace for impact as a cannonball is launched towards Yuki. The assassins wait in much anticipation as the heavy smoke begins to clear. Did they get him? Unfortunately for them, Yuki is still alive and kicking, and still happily prepping his meal. Yuki doesn't even seem to notice earlier's explosion too. The captain orders to fire another round of cannons at Yuki, even firing up the backup cannon. He also commands them focus their attacks on a single point as much as possible. And for those who aren't doing anything, they'll assist with amplifying the cannon's MP. Another assassin approaches the captain with worry. It seems that the barrier isn't budging at all. However, the captain knows the cannons are of high caliber. Besides, it's not like they're dealing with demons or magical dragons. While the assassins continue launching attacks at Yuki's barrier, the sage is happy to see that his food is now cooked. He's not so sure if it's any good since he was provided with limited ingredients. Yuki immediately fills a bowl, immediately giving it a taste, and wow, Yuki did a pretty good job with it. He devours his meal with gusto and ends up eating a lot. He's so full that Yuki now wonders when the attack will come. Ahem, Yuki. If you could just turn around and see that the forest is turning into ashes right now. Could it be that Yuki can't hear all the noise the assassins have been making? Or even feel the magnitude of their attacks? This has the captain thinking. It shouldn't be possible, but looking at Yuki right now, they should be considering that possibility. I mean, here they are going all out on Yuki, but the boy isn't even hearing nor feeling any of it. In fact, Yuki's now getting sleepy. Yawning and stretching, Yuki is having a great time solo camping. Meanwhile, the assassins are still launching the cannons in full force. The captain has now ordered them to push through with the firepower and turn Yuki and the camp into ash. Yikes! After a series of mega attacks, the forest which was once abundant of luscious green trees is now a remnant of the past. The captain can't believe what he's seeing right now. They're running out of magical ammo and there's Yuki, sleeping. Even with the kingdom's most advanced magical weapons, they weren't able to make a single, even the tiniest, dent on the barrier. What kind of person are they really dealing with? To their dismay, the assassins have failed their mission. The captain and his team can only report the things that transpired. The captain may not be able to tell the king the truth, but he knows that Yuki possesses a power greater than of those heroes. If the assassins can't handle this, then the heroes will have to deal with Yuki instead. If that happens, the captain prays that those arrogant heroes will humble themselves a bit. After their conversation, the captain commands his team to retreat and to leave no single evidence behind. Nightfall then envelops the sky. The next morning, Aurelia and the receptionist arrive to inspect the camp. They both see the ashen remains of the forest, believing a huge battle took place last night. Suddenly, the receptionist hits her head on the barrier. Aurelia then recalls what Yuki had told her about the barrier magic and its password. Shouting Hiraki Goma, Aurelia lifts the restriction and tells the receptionist they can now enter it. They finally see a sleeping Yuki, still alive and intact. The receptionist approaches Yuki, nudging him gently to wake up. The sage finally wakes up. Still groggy from his sleep, Yuki informs the receptionist that no one really came last night. He then tries explaining to the receptionist that it's not his fault no one came for him. The receptionist asks Yuki to listen to her as she gives the results of the test. It's not that they didn't come. They just failed the attack because they couldn't break through the mysterious invisible wall Yuki had set up. Now that Yuki finally turns around, he sees that there are indeed traces of an attack everywhere. So, does this mean increasing the barrier's magic level also increases its power to block the shock and sound from outside? So, according to the rules, regardless of how it happened, Yuki was still able to protect the camp for the whole night. And this is the test's main purpose. Giving Yuki a double thumbs up, the receptionist gives him the good news of passing the test. Aurelia immediately wraps her arms around Yuki, congratulating him for passing. The receptionist then hands Yuki his ID card, marking today as the official day Yuki becomes a licensed adventurer. A lot of terrible things have come Yuki's way, but this is proof that his life is about to change. To make use of their ID cards, Yuki and Aurelia both set out on a quest outside the royal capital. Carlon Plains is somehow a convenient area since it's very close to the capital. Yuki flips through the guidebook the guild provided them with, telling Aurelia they're doing a collection quest for beginners like them. Aurelia then takes out the quest form and is a bit surprised at the amount of items they need to procure. For their first mission, they need to collect 200 blue medicinal herbs, 200 red medicinal herbs, and 400 holy flowers, all of which are in the northern part of Carlon Plains. It's not supposed to be this many, but Yuki accepted 10 similar requests all at once. As a gamer in the human world, he knows that beginner-level quests like this one is best finished in batches. Yuki reads the guidebook again, looking for the perfect area to gather the items. After some thorough reading, Yuki discovers that Carlon Forest would be the ideal spot. Even though their primary was supposed to be Carlon Plains, the guidebook says that the 2 types of medicinal herbs in their list are more commonly found in forests, and that the holy flowers thrive when exposed to magical energy. Since the forest will be more infested with monsters than the plains, the magical energy in the forest would be higher. Unease grows inside of Aurelia. Sure, they'll find even more flowers and herbs in the forest, but she hasn't tested the new weapon she bought. She's worried about facing stronger magical monsters there than in the plains. Yuki immediately reassures Aurelia, telling her that they have barrier magic to begin with. And according to the guidebook, the monsters in the forest aren't that strong. Besides, the barrier magic itself is already enough. The guild examiners, aka the assassins, couldn't even get past it. Monsters would be a-okay. Aurelia just needs to stick close to Yuki and she'll be fine. This instantly lifts Aurelia's mood, giving all her trust in Yuki. They soon reach Carlon Forest, and not long, they also find the flowers and herbs they're looking for. The duo immediately get to work. This quest is going like a breeze. Aurelia doesn't even feel like they're working. To her, it's like going on a picnic. On that note, maybe they should have brought some packed lunch. Occasionally, forest monsters did try attacking the duo, but thanks to the barrier magic, they were able to focus on their quest. The barrier made sure that no monster could ever approach Yuki and Aurelia. After a while of picking, the bags they brought with them are now full. Seeing all of it, Yuki wishes they could bring it all back. It would be a waste to just throw them away. Suddenly, a game panel appears and asks if Yuki would like to store items in the item slot. Impeccable timing. Because of the item slot, Yuki is able to gather even more herbs and flowers. He casually throws them into the item slot so they can bring all, if not more, of it. Yuki shows the item slot to Aurelia, explaining that it's used to store stuff and they can also take things out anytime as well. Aurelia's face is full of amazement, complimenting the sage on how differently he does things. Because they've gathered everything in this area, Yuki feels like it should be more than enough. He then informs Aurelia they'll be heading back to the capital before it gets dark. You never know what might happen in the forest at night. All of a sudden, the atmosphere changes and lightning strikes the sky. It was just sunny a while ago, but now something feels off. Yuki believes the intervals between the strikes are too short. It's not normal thunder lightning, something is definitely off. What really catches the duo's attention is a scream. It was so loud that they can even hear it even with the barrier magic surrounding them. Although both Yuki and Aurelia are scared, curiosity eventually wins them over. They really want to see what's going on, but what if it's a powerful monster? No worries, dear Princess Aurelia. You have Yuki to protect you. Besides, the sage already plans on staying as far away as possible. There shouldn't be any strong monsters near the capital as per the guidebook too. Meanwhile, in the deepest part of Carlon Forest, the heroes party are all in search for something really important. Shiri isn't that convinced of it, but since the king himself issued the investigation, Fabrice doesn't have a choice. Could the water-eyed dragon really live this close to the capital? Well, whatever shows up, Shiri surely wouldn't mind since she has her darling Fabrice to protect her. When Shiri gives Fabrice a hug, the team leader instantly feels a boost of ego and tells her he would take it down with one single strike. I hope everyone can feel my eyes rolling right now. The two are still lovey-dovey, hence why Katashi calls them out for it, reminding them that they aren't on a picnic. Fabrice randomly finds magical wolves in the forest and strikes them with his sword. To him, these wolves are just weaklings and hardly even good for a warm-up. One wolf wasn't fazed by Fabrice's attack as if challenging the hero's leader. Grinning, Fabrice accepts the wolf's challenge and with utter force, swings his sword at the wolf, slicing it in two. Shiri is so impressed she couldn't help but hug Fabrice once more. Fabrice sulks in the attention he's getting from her, calling it one of those. Anyways, as they walk much deeper into the forest, the more they begin to feel the magical energy concentration it's giving off. If the water-eyed dragon is its source, then the monster should get even stronger. Sticking out her tongue, Shiri confidently tells the others that Fabrice will be able to defeat such monsters, no matter how strong. The heroes let out a dry laugh, sarcastically telling Fabrice they'll be counting on the so-called sword hero by then. We'll all be counting on that, Fabrice. The heroes soon reach an empty shrine. They believe it to be the shrine where the water-eyed dragon supposedly sealed itself. A giggling Shiri jokes about the dragon being afraid of Fabrice. Not everyone is a fan of the joke though, especially Katashi, who commands them to start investigating instead of joking around. Before anyone can even start their recon mission, the shrine begins to display magical symbols. The earth quakes as the shrine begins to crack. Suddenly, an uproar echoes throughout the forest, leaving the heroes in a state of fear. The shrine eventually breaks, emerging from it the ferocious water-eyed dragon they've been looking for. The heroes can't believe their eyes. Standing in front of them is a magnificent magical beast that's ought to be sealed away. This is the water-eyed dragon believed to be in myths. Fabrice then takes the lead, commanding everyone to work together to fight the dragon. The others begin to protest, calling Fabrice's plan absurd. Fabrice immediately turns towards Katashi, asking the shield hero to block the dragon's attack. But the hero doesn't want to comply since it'll be major suicide if he does. Now, an argument ensues between the two heroes. Fabrice demands Katashi to move forward, saying it's his job to do so. But Katashi retaliates, saying Fabrice can do it on his own. All this yapping has the dragon giving them a menacing look. It's unimpressed with the hero's pathetic rambling and ultimately release a mouthful of fire breath. Because of this sudden attack, the other heroes are all wiped out in one go. Healing won't make it in time. Katashi immediately wants to raise the white flag, knowing there's no way they could beat such beast. He dashes off on his own, leaving Fabrice to face the dragon alone. The sword hero wants to escape on his own, but how could he do so when the dragon is as stealthy as it is strong? It rushes towards Fabrice with its claws forward and kicks the hero towards the ground. Now on the ground, Fabrice is injured from the attack. His body can't move now, and it just feels like his body is going to fall apart. The dragon isn't done yet though. It gazes at Fabrice like he's going to be its lunch. The best that Fabrice could do is scream for it to stay away. Will the remaining heroes survive such dilemma? Looking up to an ominous sky, Yuki and Aurelia aren't sure what they're going to see, but they can absolutely feel the air vibrating from where they stand. They better be mentally prepared for what's to come. After a while of walking, the adventurers are greeted with the sight of the severely injured heroes. They both turn to see what has caused such catastrophe, only to discover the mythical water-eyed dragon. It stands tall and proud. Upon hearing its thunderous roar, Aurelia dashes behind Yuki's back, hiding herself from the scary beast. She then proposes they leave immediately, telling Yuki the dragon is dangerous to face right now. Yuki agrees with her. While this dragon looks like one of those surprise killers a gamer meets in the early stages of a game, he feels like they shouldn't get involved with such problem right now. Turning their backs, the two start heading towards the royal capital. Fabrice sees the adventurers and immediately calls out for Yuki. The sword hero doesn't care who Yuki is anymore. He just wants someone to help them. Yuki lets out a sigh but doesn't even bother turning around to talk to Fabrice. It's kinda the hero's fault for meddling in unnecessary things in the first place. A relentless Fabrice tries to convince Yuki to help them, telling Yuki the hero party will be completely wiped out if he doesn't intervene. Unexpectedly, the dragon spots the adventurers and gushes out another fiery breath. Although Yuki and Aurelia remain unscathed, the barrier magic they've both been relying on is now broken. The dragon then prepares for another attack. Yuki is now worried. Things have gone sour and there's absolutely no time to rebuild the barrier. Taking out his sword, Yuki takes the defensive side and orders Aurelia to stay away. The dragon lets out yet another attack. Yuki, not wanting to just stand by and watch, lashes the dragon's breath using his sword. Yuki stares at his sword with astonishment. Even with incomplete repairs, his sword can take on massive attacks. What more can he expect from the demon sword Berserk if it's completely repaired, right? Mouth agape, Fabrice is also surprised with Yuki's magical capabilities. In a sudden turn of events, the water-eyed dragon finally stops its attacks. Instead, it starts talking to the adventurers. It asks if Yuki is indeed the sage it's been waiting for. After Yuki promptly confirms his identity, the dragon starts telling the sage about its life and ultimate confinement. Around 1,000 years ago, the water-eyed dragon received a fatal wound in battle. This left it no choice but to seal itself away so it could heal. Not long, it fell into a deep slumber. Since the ancient times, dragons have always lived alongside sages. They are naturally drawn to people like Yuki, who can wield both magical wisdom and the power of dragons. The water-eyed dragon then proposes to take it as Yuki's subordinate. If Yuki does so, the sage will also gain great power. Yuki doesn't give the dragon an immediate answer. Personally, he just wants to live happily. Having such an enormous dragon would be troublesome to travel with. Hearing this, the dragon assures Yuki not to worry. It doesn't waste time at all and instantly turns itself into a cute little baby dragon. Oh my, the stark difference between earlier's ferocious dragon to this cute little pet. Both Yuki and Aurelia are dumbstruck with what's happening. While the dragon's body got smaller, its power remains the same, it just got cuter is all. The baby dragon then looks at Yuki guiltily, apologizing for doing terrible things to his companions, aka the heroes. Confused, Yuki tells the baby dragon that it has nothing to worry about because Aurelia remains scratch-free. The baby dragon then points out the heroes who are still trembling in fear despite the dragon's cute transformation. Looking at the heroes, Yuki negates the dragon's apology. It doesn't need to apologize since Yuki isn't close with the heroes. With arms on his waist, Yuki dryly jokes about the heroes being the bad ones. Fabrice frantically tries to salvage whatever friendship they have left by saying they once met at the castle. Lol, like that makes any difference. The baby dragon's eyes turn blank, asking Yuki if these so-called heroes are his enemies, and if it should kill them instead. Both Fabrice and Shiri cry out in fear. To save themselves, Fabrice pleads he'll do anything Yuki says if he spares them. He then offers the title hero, and even offers his position as leader of the hero party. Of course, Yuki wouldn't accept such a ridiculous offer. How could he when it was Fabrice who kicked him out of the castle in the first place? Yuki remembers these faces as clear as day. Fabrice, Katashi, and Shiri were all scums and agreed to kick him out just because he was a sage. Yuki also remembers being called useless. It's not that simple to just take back something that's already been said just because they've been proven wrong. On bended knees, Fabrice begs with his life. He apologizes repeatedly and asks for Yuki's mercy. With crossed arms, Yuki looks at Fabrice's current stature. It's true that Fabrice is a self-centered guy, but Yuki isn't so sure if the sword hero is the real enemy here. Yuki finally gives the baby dragon an order to leave the heroes alive. They're not worth the trouble at all. This has the dragon slump in disappointment, but it heeds Yuki's commands. However, Yuki has one condition. The heroes need to deny all the bad rumors about him that have spread throughout the kingdom. They also need to apologize to Yuki for all the mean things they've said and done to him. Although Fabrice wants to say yes to this condition, he worries about the king's approval and all the complicated things he needs to do first. Compared to falling to their deaths now, Yuki believes Fabrice's task to be easy enough. The sword hero needs to figure it out or else the baby dragon will chomp off his head. What a cute chomping beast too! Fabrice immediately agrees, pleading once again to let him and the other heroes go. After that's settled, it's high time the adventurers plus their new pet to head back to the guild. Meanwhile, Shiri starts trying to heal her companions. They'll certainly be fine on their own. If it comes down to it, someone will eventually come and rescue them. The baby dragon then calls his master, wanting Yuki to bestow it a proper name. Without a name, it can't serve Yuki at all. Since the beast is called the water-eyed dragon, Yuki thinks of the name Sui. Yuki apologizes for being unable to think of a good name right away, but the baby dragon is more than happy with its new name. In fact, it likes it a lot. Not only did Yuki manage to complete the guild's requests all at once, he also managed to snag the water-eyed dragon as his pet. He also managed to have the heroes clear out his name that'll eventually restore his honor. It's been a surprising day for these adventurers indeed. Once arriving at the guild, Yuki informs the receptionist they'll be delivering the items from the requests he acquired earlier this morning. However, the receptionist is a bit puzzled upon seeing that the adventurers don't have the bags of items with them. Yuki, telling her to wait a moment, whips out his item storage. And with a bit of click here and click there, poof, the receptionist's counter is now full of all the requested herbs and flowers. Yuki then explains that it's a lot of items because of the simultaneous requests he took. The receptionist is mind-blown by this. To take on 10 requests all at once and delivering them by noon? What a feat! The receptionist doesn't have a choice but to believe Yuki and accept the items. Even if Yuki hired other adventurers or buy the items to complete the task, it would not gain him any monetary means at all. They'll need to count the items for accuracy, though then the receptionist will have to verify Yuki's guild certificate. Once Yuki hands out his ID card, the receptionist confirms his identity and of Aurelia's. Her eyes begin to twinkle as she recalls all the rumors she's heard. When Yuki defeated the great Regulus with lightning-fast sword skills, winning the final task without even lifting a hand to fight, and even being a handsome newcomer. What a major fangirl moment it is for this receptionist. Yuki begins blushing and couldn't utter a single reply. The receptionist then informs the duo that they've been promoted to rank C after successfully completing all 10 requests. Aurelia jumps in joy upon hearing this. Before they could leave, the receptionist asks about Sui, who's been sleeping on top of Yuki's head. Yuki gets confused when the receptionist calls Sui a stuffed animal. He's about to tell her otherwise, but then stops and thinks it would be bad if anyone else will find out about Sui's true identity. Plus, Sui's been sleeping so peacefully that Yuki thinks it actually understands the situation and is pretending not to move. Scratching the back of his head, Yuki agrees with her, tells the receptionist that Sui is actually handmade. Starstruck, the receptionist asks Yuki to make one for her as well. Embarrassed by her own outburst, the receptionist apologizes. Yuki then tells her he might make one next time before bidding the receptionist goodbye. This excites the receptionist, already looking forward to their next encounter. Out Tuesday, Yuki is able to exhale in relief. That was a close call. To think Sui's true identity was close on getting exposed. Flapping its wings, Sui nods when Yuki asks about pretending to be a stuffed animal. Indeed, this baby dragon is a smart one. Praising Sui, Yuki gives its head a loving scratch and asks Sui to keep pretending in front of other people. Now the adventurers plus Sui are now hungry. After all, they deserve a hearty meal after today's accomplishments. Completing their request plus ranking up in the process? And with Sui joining them, Yuki's fate is looking positively remarkable now. He can't wait for what adventures lie next for them.